welcome to my channel. I'm the City Witch. I'm really super excited today to do this video for you guys. So I'm going to talk about one of my all-time favourite subjects in the craft, which is crystals. So this one is going to be all about the different crystal books that are out there, the ones I have in my collection, and the particular writers that I think are going to be useful to you guys. So I'm going to do what I've done before in my other videos. I'm going to show you a few of my books from my collection. I'm going to score the book from 1 to 10, and I'm going to tell you some of the contents that it has, whether I thought it was interesting when I was reading it, so if I enjoyed it or not, and if the writer is a good writer to get into really when it comes to those sort of subjects. So another reason I'm excited to do this video is because it's led me to the idea to start talking about crystals to you guys. So I'm going to be doing a section on my YouTube channel. It's going to be called Crystal Cove, and each video is going to be named after the particular crystal I'm going to talk about. And I'm hoping to give you some ideas on how I utilise crystals in my witchcraft and how I've used them over the years. And I'm going to start off with the very basic crystals that you can get hold of, so really simple ones, and I'll build up to some rarer ones later on in the videos. So yeah, really excited to do those for you guys, and I hope you are going to enjoy them. So let's get on to the video, shall we? So the first one I'm going to talk to you about is this one. So this is the Essential Crystal Handbook, and it's by Simon and Sue Lilly. Now the reason I want to talk to you about this one is quite simply because it's an amazing book to have if you're a beginner or still in the broom closet, and let me tell you why. So firstly, it's obviously quite a small pocket-sized book, so it's easy for you to carry around in your bag or your purse, and it's got loads of information. It's actually got more than 100 crystals listed inside it. Most of them are simple, common crystals that you can get hold of almost anywhere these days. I have actually seen crystals in supermarkets now, so again, really easy to find. Crystals are used for lots and lots of purposes, not just in witchcraft or new age paths. And I think the beautiful thing about having a book like this these days is it covers a little bit about everything. So this book, for that reason, becomes quite inconspicuous. You can have this on your bookcase and no relative or friend is going to pick this up and automatically go, oh, you're a witch, oh my god, you're a witch, burn, you're a witch. They're not going to get that, guys. They're really not. They're going to look at that and go, oh, it's a book on crystals and minerals, and they're going to open it up and look through it and go, oh, okay, so healing and practical uses, oh, there's even a bit on magic. That's kind of going to be it. The information in this is kind of all mixed up, so you know, the bit that is recommending to you what the crystal can be used for in magic and magical purposes is in amongst all the other information it gives. It's not the focal point. Each crystal obviously is completely different, and the way you can use crystals is different from one witch to the other as well, which is why I'm going to do videos on the crystals themselves as well, because the way I would use them is probably different to the next person. So this book is great for a beginner because it lists all of the basic information that you're going to need to know as a beginning practitioner for incorporating crystals into your everyday life, into your craft, and into your spirituality. So I'll show you kind of how it lays out. So let's do this one. So that's kind of what it looks like. So you get it over a 2-page spread, and please ignore my handwriting there, the ticks, that's just my guide that lets me know I own the crystal, and if I want to use it, I know I have it in my collection. That's just what that is. So as I say, it's over a 2-page spread. You get the title in bold, and then you get its chemical code, and then you get a description about the crystal. So this is kind of like historic information about the crystal itself. So it'll be where it was first found, what countries it typically grows in, how it's formed, if it's got any famous references to it, such as a famous person found it or whatever, and it gives you all that information. So that can be quite interesting to read, so you know a little bit about, you know, factual background about the crystal itself. Then it gives you some bulletized information about what the crystal should kind of look like, feel like, you know, smell like, all that kind of stuff. So obviously this one, which is peridot, should be green, yellow, or yellowy green. And then it gives you the luster, which should be greasy to vitreous, and then it gives you the density, and then it gives you the system of crystals that it belongs to. Then over to the side, it gives you identifications and care. So it teaches you how to identify the crystal and recognize it from others, and then how to care for your crystal should you choose to have it. Then it does give you magic. So I will read that out since this is a video on witchcraft and using crystals in witchcraft. So the magic purposes of this crystal, it says, symbolizes the vibrant energy of the natural world, provides protection from harmful forces and influences. So that's the magical properties of that particular crystal. And then it also gives you healing functions and then practical ideas for different ways you could use the crystal perhaps. Then it gives you keywords. So the keywords is what I look at the most if I'm going to look at crystals in this book, because again it tends to match up with healing and the main qualities of the crystal and also with any spells I want to do. So it's really handy. So for this one it says cleansing, freshening and invigorating. So overall it's kind of the crystal that would be really good if you're getting over an illness or a virus. It's also a good one for moving toxins from your aura and your physical being, so it'd be a really good one to have in the morning. So a good one to keep in the shower perhaps, or in the bathroom where you're likely to obviously beautify yourself, have a nice relaxing bath, that kind of thing. So it's a good one to lift out those toxins. And then it also gives you similar stones. So what I like about this section on similar stones is if, say for example, I turn to this page and I say I have this key where I tick the crystal I own, but say I didn't have a tick there, that automatically tells me I don't own that crystal. So then I might go, oh well, I don't own it, and I can't really afford to right now go out and perhaps buy a new one, or I don't really want to go, wait for it. I need it for a certain spell at a certain time. So then what I might do generally, if I'm, planning a spell around a certain crystal, is go, what can I use instead of that crystal? That's the logical next step. So what I like about this is it actually recommends other crystals with similar properties that would do instead. So in this case, it's recommending Hortonite, Phyalite and Forsterite. So I don't actually own any of those crystals, so it's a good job I own the Peridot. But yeah, apparently they're crystals that have similar properties. The way this book lets me down a little bit, I have to say, is that he doesn't actually give you the pages those crystals are on, so you can't just flip through and go and find them. You'd have to go to the index, look up that crystal, and then go back to the page. It's a lot of backwards and forth, which is fiff-faffing around, and I don't like that. I don't like things handed to me on a plate. I do like to research, but if I'm going to be looking at a book and it has all my information in it and I don't have to go anywhere else for it, then it should actually make itself really, really simple to use, and to me that's a lot of fiff-faffing around, so that loses it a point for me. The other qualities about this book, which is really quite good, is he does give you lots of useful information at the beginning of the book. So it tells you healing traditions, a geology of gemstones, your crystal collection, crystal healing techniques, crystal layouts and grids, and then some meditations. And then he jumps right in to give you lots of information on the crystals themselves, and then he gives you further reading at the back of the book. So Simon and Sue Lilly, as I say, they are really super informative writers, and this is a great book for a beginner to have because it touches on all of the main subjects that you're going to want to know when it comes to crystals. You're going to want to know how to use them for healing, what properties they have. You're going to want to know how, to recognise that crystal and know you're not being fobbed off or conned by anybody. And you're going to want to know its magical properties, especially as a magical New Age practitioner. So this book kind of covers all of that in a basic format with all the main common crystals you're going to find and see and be able to access. So for that reason, I'd give this a 9 out of 10. It would have been a 10 out of 10 if he'd have listed the actual pages that the replacement crystals were on, but he doesn't do that, so that loses a point for me. So 9 out of 10. So the next books I'm going to talk to you about, I'm going to do this in bulk because actually they're all by the same writer, they're all laid out in exactly the same way, and they pretty much all contain the same information, so I don't really need to do them individually. And they are the Crystal Bible Volume 2 and the Crystal Bible Volume 3. And it's these, and they're all by Judy Hall, so exactly the same person. So just to give you an idea of the first one, which is her, Crystal Bible. So this was the one that kind of spawned off this collection. So just to give you an idea of the content, so you've got crystal references, crystal delights, crystal background, crystal information, crystal healing, crystal selection, crystal care, crystal meditation, the crystal dictionary, which is every crystal that she lists in this book, crystal shapes, quick references, a glossary, and then an index, and then she gives you lots of other useful information at the back of the book as well. And one of the neat things about this is if you're trying to remind yourself how crystals are formulated and made, she actually gives you a little bit of a lesson in it on how they're made and reminds you, which is quite nice. And then she talks to you a lot about the structure and shapes of crystals as well, so you get a lot of that sort of information in it, so kind of useful. And then she just jumps right in, but near the beginning of the book she gives you a really handy key, and it's all in alphabetical order, so like that. And again, if you're wondering what the ticks are, it's because I own those crystals, and by having them ticked I know that I can just you know, go and find them, and if I like the qualities, I can incorporate it in a spell because I know I own it, so I just need to then look it up in my collection. So let's say, from A to Z, you can find, so long as you know what the crystal's called, you can look it up from A to Z, which is really handy. And the way it's laid out is like that. So you end up with quite a nice page with a full colour picture of what it should look like. So obviously this one's amber, and then it tells you here information like what colour it should be, the appearance, the rarity, and the sources you can get it from. Then it gives you attributes, which is quite nice, and that's usually quite a big section. Then it also gives you healing qualities, and it gives you position. And then if it has subversions of it as well, so when you get to quartz, for example, there's loads and loads of different quartzes, and it kind of lists clear quartz and then goes on to smoky and so on and so forth, and it goes on through kind of all of them. So some crystals have more than one variety and they're just under a certain name, so that's something to watch out for. In that case, amber is just amber, so it's on its own. Yeah, and let's say there's quite a large collection of them in this book. Let's see if I can find you an example of what I was mentioning before about quartzes. So there you go, so that's one, so that's phantom quartz there. So it tells you it's quartz, but then it tells you what it's called as its individual, but it's still a quartz and belongs to the quartz family. So she kind of breaks it down for you. The one negative for me about this book is it doesn't kind of give you any magical information at all. She kind of concentrates a lot more on the healing qualities. She does give you crystals and the zodiac towards the back of the book, so you can look up crystals for your star sign. She gives you crystals with the chakras and recommends certain ones that you can use, which is quite nice. Crystals in the aura, so again, she gives you recommended crystals for that. And then crystal correspondences. So this is where she talks a little bit about if you've got an ailment or a problem, or you know, you've had surgery or something along those lines, and you're trying to figure out a good crystal to help you heal. She'll recommend something. So for example, if you're having problems with your ears, so it could be, you know, you can't hear properly or they're clogged up or something like that, she's recommending amber, red, black and snowflake obsidian, celestite, rhodonite and orange calcite. So they're the crystals that she recommends if you have problems with your ears. She gives you a description of the body as well. She gives you some gem remedies that you can consider making. So here, this is where she talks about your dosage and your bottles and which crystals to use for what. So what she'll do is she'll give you the crystals. So like, for example, fluorite, and she said breaks up blockages in the etheric body and is antiviral. So you know exactly what that's used for, and she'll teach you how to make the gem water, and then obviously how much water you should put in ratio to the crystal, which is quite nice. And then she gives you crystal grids and layouts as well, and then she gives you dictionary of meanings, and then she gives you an invocation for crystals with love, and then she gives you a glossary. So she gives you a lot of information in there, and to be honest, she does the exact same with these. The only thing I'm going to say about all of these books is, firstly, if you're only interested in books on crystals to use in witchcraft, these are probably going to be pretty useless for you. You're not going to need them. But if you're looking at expanding your witchcraft and you're thinking, you know what, I kind of want to know how to heal with crystals as well and use them generally for healing, not just witchcraft, then these books are fantastic. They cover all of the crystals that are out there right now. She's actually very informative, and she does a heck of a lot of research, so you do get an awful lot of information in here. And she's quite honest if she says that a crystal is quite new and it's still being explored for its properties. She is honest about that and tells you that, you know, you might have to go online and Google a little bit later on for more information than what she can provide, which is honest as a writer. If, however, you are only really looking at getting a book that covers the basic crystals, you only need the first one. You won't need these other two. These other two cover rarer, more complicated crystals that eventually do get more and more expensive as you go down the line. The reason I have all three is because actually I'm at the point in my collection where I have virtually everything that's in that one, and I wanted to expand, and I do want to carry on collecting crystals, so I've gone into the other ones and started collecting rarer versions. So that's the only reason I have them all, but you might not need them all, guys. If I'm going to score these as what they are, books on crystals used for healing and all the different healing techniques, it would easily be a 10 out of 10 because of the information contained within, and she is a fantastic writer. But if you're looking for books on crystals for witchcraft, these fall short, so they probably only be scored 4 or 5 because they don't actually cover any magical information at all. But if you're an experienced practitioner, you could actually use the information in here that she says the crystals have as properties and actually figure out what you'd use that for in witchcraft. So it's just about training, knowledge and experience, I think, a little bit there. So that's those one for you guys. The next one again is by the same writer, but I want to mention it because it was actually really quite clever and I really enjoyed it when I worked my way through it. And it's called Crystal Experience, and again it's by Judy Hall. And in this one she gives you a CD which is tucked into the front cover like that. And in this book, it's basically just a workbook where she gives you lots of exercises, lots of ways to use your crystals, and she gets you really interacting with the crystals. And then she gives you worksheets at the end that kind of look like that as well. So what I did, guys, rather than fill these in and ruin the book in case anyone wanted to borrow it, I actually photocopied these and kept them in a file. And when I wanted to do one of these exercises she gives you, I just filled it out on a piece of paper rather than on this because I didn't want to damage the book. And there are certain exercises in this that I refer to quite a lot when I'm teaching classes actually, so I did find this really interesting, and she does teach you a lot of really clever ideas. So some of the things I got from this book was she talks about how crystals can house spirits or be born with their own spiritual essence. And that can be male or female, so she teaches you how to identify whether the energy of the crystal is male or female. She teaches you to recognise which direction it's spinning, right, left. She teaches you to recognise how fast the energy spins as well, so if it's vibrating at high frequency or a low frequency. So that was all really, really interesting stuff. And then she also teaches you how to apply that to things like plants as well, and actually tapping into other spiritual energies and recognising whether the essence is male or female, and using all those techniques in lots of areas of your life. So again, really interesting stuff, and I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed working my way through this. So I do recommend it if you really want to get interactive with your crystals. So 10 out of 10 from me, but again, not really a witchcraft book, but a lot of the techniques in here could be used to expand your witchcraft and your knowledge and your psychic practice. So it's good for practicing, guys, especially if you're a beginner. So yeah, 10 out of 10. So the next two I'm going to talk to you about actually really are books for crystals for witches, and they're written actually by witches as well. So these two are, I'm going to tell you now, guys, these are a 10 out of 10. They are fantastic books. They are the two I refer to the most in my crystal book collection. And the first one I'm going to talk to you about is this one, and it's called the Crystal Bible. And it's by Cassandra Eason, and she is a fantastic writer. Now at the time that I got this, I literally paid peanuts for it. It was in sale in a random bookstore in Llandudno. I think I paid maybe £4 for it, and I picked it up because I didn't have many books on crystals at the time, especially not ones that are magical, so I thought, why not, I'll get it. And actually this has turned out to be my top book. This is my all-time favourite book on crystals now. I refer to this for virtually everything because it contains everything I need. I don't have to refer to any of the others at all. And when I've recommended this to other students, they actually really struggled to get hold of a copy of this, and when they did, it was quite expensive. You're talking 20-30 quid to get it. So this turned out to be really, really popular in the end, so I was glad I bought it when I did. So you might need to, you know, keep an eye out for it online or something, or see if you can find a copy for yourselves, but it is worth it. So just to give you an idea of the stuff contained within, because it's quite a long list, is you've got Introduction to Crystals. So how crystals are formed, crystals in history, how crystals work, crystal shapes and terms, crystals and colours, choosing your crystals and cleansing your crystals. And then she goes on to talk about crystal healing. So making a crystal elixir, crystals and your chakras, crystals and your aura, using crystals for meditation and relaxation, creating a crystal layout, creating a sacred space for your crystals. And then crystal divination. So she does tell you what that's called, but actually I'm going to look like a fool if I try and pronounce it, so I'm not going to, sorry guys. And then she talks about your crystal dictionary of meanings with colours, and then crystals with your tarot. And then she does using crystals in your life, so crystals for home, work, travel, love, luck and prosperity, anniversary crystals, crystals and children, using birth and month crystals. And then she gives you a full list of crystal dictionary, which is quite large, and then she gives you an ailments list as well. And then she credits some of the information to other authors, and then also gives you a massive index to research as well. And the way she lays it out is really nice. It looks like that. So you get a lovely colour image of the crystal. And again, guys, sorry, the tick is my handwriting. I do that, like I said, when I know I own the crystal. This is the best bit. So here is like really informative information, but this is kind of your spiritual bit, so that's the bit you're going to pay attention to the most. So as an example of what she includes in the spiritual bit, so you've got candle colour, fragrances, practical uses, the workplace, magical significances, a divinationary meaning, zodiac, and an empowerment message. So there's actually a few ways you can use the crystals in this, which is really cool. And you can use the book for divination. So you could ask a question, flip through, stop intuitively, and read the message of the crystal. So, you know, this one, for example, for the empowerment is I am high achiever. But for the divinationary meaning, it says be tough but kind with someone close who acts helpless and drains you of money or energy with constant demand. So that might not necessarily answer my question at the time I'm asking, depending on what I'm asking, but I could probably think of lots of ways I can apply that and why it would be a message. So I actually found that really interesting. I actually do like flipping through this on a regular basis and see what it tells me. It's really interesting. Then you get a description at the bottom here. So this is all about the history of the crystal and some factual information. And then the bit at the top is literally just about the crystal itself. So you've got type, colour, availability, physical benefits, emotional benefits, and then the chakra it relates to. So really informative. And again, these are all listed by colour, not by, you know, A to Z. So they're not alphabetical order, they're just colours. So, and then you've got at the side here, so it's all colour coded there, so you can literally flip through and go, oh, there's the reds, so I'm going to now look at reds, you know, there's the yellows, and because the colour coded here, it's really easy to kind of, you know, even if you don't know the name of the crystal, you can kind of go, well, it's yellow, so it's obviously going to be in the yellow section if it's in the book, and then you can go through and try and identify it, and it gives you lots of ways to do that as well. So this was actually a really, really good book. I really thoroughly enjoy it. It's my go-to. She's a fantastic writer as well, and any books you can get by her on magical information is brilliant, and I have lots of her books. So if you want to know more about her as a writer, I'm quite happy to do a video about all of her books I have and why I enjoyed them so much. But this one, definitely, guys, if you are an experienced practitioner, it's a brilliant book. And if you're somebody who is new to crystals, because of the way she outlines it and how simple it is laid out, it's really good for you guys as well. So 10 out of 10 from me for that one. The next one I've mentioned to you before in a previous video, but as it is on crystals, I'm going to mention it in this one as well, but I'll skip over it quite quickly because I have spoken to it about it before, and it's this one. So this is obviously the Book of Crystal Spells by Ember Grant, and this again is a 10 out of 10 book, guys. It's fantastic. This one lists so many different ways that you can use crystals and spells and magic. It's fantastic. And actually, I know for Christmas, you know, a friend of mine's buying me the second copy of this because she's done another one because it was so popular. So I can't wait to read how she's gonna expand from this into this new book that's come out. So it's gonna be fantastic. So I'll let you know about that one as well. But in this one, just to give you an idea of the content, you get a whole chapter on preparation of your crystals. So an introduction, cleansing and charging, the cleansing methods, and she gives you a full list of all the different methods. She talks to you about charging and dedication, defining and demystifying. She gives you centering and grounding, mundane stuff, and then she talks to you about jewellery, amulets, talismans and charms. And then she gives you lots of information on that, including if you buy second-hand jewellery and how to cleanse it and repurpose it. And then if you're going to give away magical jewellery, how to repurpose and let go of that energy as well. And then she talks to you in chapter 3 about crystal spells for the home and garden. And then she gives you lots of information on doing that. And a lot of those techniques I use because, as I've said before, I love gardening in my garden. And then chapter 4 is crystal elixirs and essences, and again she's fantastic there. She talks to you about all the toxic crystals that you can't use. She tells you how to easily identify crystals that you can. She gives you lots and lots of different techniques and blends as well that she recommends and what they're used for. And then I think my favourite thing as well is where she goes into large details about certain crystals that can't be cleansed in a certain way or placed in water and why, and talks about toxicity of them. And actually one crystal I didn't realise was toxic until I read this book, and I'd had that crystal for years, so that was also very informative. Chapter 5 is about sand and glass, and then she talks in chapter 6 about earth magic and, you know, the geodes and the crystals and all the different methods that she can come up with incorporating earth spells with her crystals. Section 7 is special quartz points. Crystal 8 is rituals, meditations and affirmations, and then 9 is numerology with your stones and crystals. And then chapter 10, crystal grid spells and advanced crystal magic. So that was probably the most popular chapter for me since I've been studying witchcraft for such a long time. A lot of the techniques in this was things that I hadn't necessarily, you know, didn't know. I knew them, but the way she incorporated the crystals was quite nice. So when I got to the advanced bit, there was stuff in that I'd never done before, so that was more challenging for me. She talks about alchemic grids as well, again, so not something I'd come across before, so that was really interesting. And then she gives you a full list of appendices as well, and she gives you other things to consider when it comes to crystals and things you might like to try. So a massively informative, magical book to use your crystals for spells, rituals, talismans, anything you can think of. Fantastic, guys. Absolutely love this book. 10 out of 10. Couldn't fault it, and it was so unique. There's no other way to compare this to any other book. It was the first one of its kind, I think. So it's brilliant, guys. Honestly, if you can get your hands on that, I recommend it. You will not be disappointed. It was brilliant. The next ones I'm going to kind of run over as quickly as I can, because again, a lot of these are not ones I think you'd be too amazed at, but they're worth mentioning because they're in my collection. So these two I'm going to do together, and it's these two here. So I actually got these when I was doing my spiritual healing classes and courses and qualifying to be a healer. And these books in particular, they just cover how you can use crystal wands and palm stones for massage and healing purposes. And they go into all the different techniques of massaging as well, so you can become an amateur healer by using these. And some of the stuff I like in it is the way that they show you how you should rub or swirl it. So as you can see, usually you just get a picture and people are supposed to, you know, they kind of just assume you know what you're talking about. But here it actually tells you the pattern of going like that, for example, the swirls there, you know, the up-down pattern there. So there's a few different ways that you can interpret the way they're trying to show you how to do it. And then it gives you a really good description as well. I mean, there's another example up there about something you can do around your solar plexus. So it's really interesting stuff, guys. And if you really want to use your crystals for healing as a healer, then I do recommend this book in particular. I did really thoroughly enjoy it. And it does go into a lot of detail about, you know, different areas of the body as well, like the feet, and how to do massage and healing on that as well using your crystals. And it does talk to you about crystal massage balls as well, which is something I got into, which was really good. So it's really informative. That one kind of covers in general all of crystal massaging and healing techniques by using them for massage. So if you're just looking to get into massage, this is probably the only one you need. But I focused a lot in my studies on crystal wands, so I got that one as well. As you know, I kind of used them together, to be honest. And again, this one talks to you a lot more in depth about the wands and the different techniques and how to actually massage and heal with them, and that was really interesting. So yeah, I got these together for my course. I'm going to grade them together for that reason. The content is really good, the pictures are really interesting, the writers were not boring at all. I flew through these really quickly, I enjoyed them, and they were really helpful for my course and my healing and progressing in my career. So for that reason, I would score them pretty decent score, probably a 7 or an 8 out of 10. But as far as it goes for a magical book on crystals, crap. There's no information in it magically at all. They're not built or designed to be books on magic, and they don't give you any information magically how to use crystal wands, which is a bit of a shame considering they could be used that way as well. And actually I do use some of mine for magic rather than healing, so obviously I keep them separate so I know what the, you know, what I do with them. But still, it would be nice for them to cover more subjects. So kind of like some of the first books I mentioned where they kind of cover a bit of everything. It would have been nice if they'd at least included that in here, but they don't. So for that reason, as I say, about a 7 out of 10 for those. The next one I'm going to talk about is another one by Cassandra Eason, and it's called Healing Crystals. Now this one was a gift. I don't think it was expensive to buy. I think it literally says $9.99 on the back, but I don't think the person paid that. I think it was yet another one bought in like a cheap bookstore. This is quite a nice one, but what she does in this is she focuses on colour. So as you can see, everything's kind of in a colour here. So you've got all the oranges together, the greens and the purples and the blues. What she's done in this book is she's kind of made you go through it and kind of think more about the colour than the crystal itself, and she's broke it all down to colour as well, so it's more of a focal point. She talks to you a lot about, I mean, she gives you a lot of information, to be fair, on the crystal. I mean, that's amethyst, and she gives you, I think it's like nearly 3 pages worth. Yeah, because it goes on to that page as well. So she gives you an awful lot of information about amethyst and its uses. And just give you an idea of what she kind of covers. She gives you properties, which is type, colour, zodiac associations, planet, elements, guardian angels, chakra, herbs and incense and oils and flowers and associated crystals. She gives you a mythology and history on the actual crystal itself, use at work and home, divinationary significance, healing in your environment. Then she talks about children and animals, psychic associations, and recharging that particular crystal's energies. And that's probably the bit I liked the most about this, is she gives you lots of techniques for the individual crystals, so she tailors it to the crystal's needs rather than your needs, which is interesting, because most of the books I've read, including the Crystal Spell book that I just went through with you guys, actually what the other writers have done is kind of to give you lots of techniques and ways that you can cleanse your crystals. But in this, she almost says to you, well, that crystal actually prefers this kind of method, or I found that method is better for this reason. And it always associates with the crystal itself. So that was really interesting. It's not something I've incorporated too much in my everyday practice, but sometimes I think, you know what, it'd be nice to cleanse this crystal in a different way. And I do think to refer to this book for that interesting little tidbit. She doesn't give you too much in this book. Most of it is literally just talking about the crystals and colour coding them. I think she does give you a little bit of healing towards the back of the book, but it's not a massive amount. Most of it, as I say, is just focused on the information that you have in it and the crystal itself. So this is something you probably don't need, if I'm honest, and because it doesn't cover a massive amount of crystals. I mean, it's literally the bare minimum. There's probably no more than about 50 crystals in this, if that. It's a really, really, really basic book, but as it's not a witchcraft book, again, for a beginner or someone in the broom closet, you can get away with having this in your collection without anyone battering too much of an eyelid, because it just is what it says. It's a book on healing crystals, but as she is a magical practitioner herself, the way she writes it gives you some interesting ideas on how perhaps you could use the crystal in magic, or how she would use it for a magical purpose without actually stating that it's magical, which is also good. So it's almost like, you know, hiding the fact that this is a book on witchcraft, I suppose, which is nifty. But again, doesn't cover too much information, doesn't have a lot of information in it. It's pretty to look at, it's nicely laid out. I enjoyed reading it, but I don't actually use it. It sits on my shelf. It was a gift, so that's part of the reason I still have it. So I'd probably score it about 4 out of 10 if I'm honest, guys. The next book I love. This is really good, and again, it's by writers that I really like. It's by Simon Lilly, and it's the Crystal Healing book, and it looks like that. So again, if you can get your hands on this one, guys, this one was amazing, and it's got so much information in it. It's packed full of information. I'm not going to read everything out because I will literally be here all day because it's such a massive selection, but I just want to give you an idea of some of the things in it. So you've got learning to sense your auric field, absent healing, plants and animals, crystal with astrology, divination with your crystals, the figure 8 circuits, handheld crystals, record keeping, emotional stress, massage wands, medians, talks about gemstone dictionary, the central, let's see, what else does it have? Crystals and astrology, choosing your and storing your crystals, gem water and essences, crystals with healing, healing sessions, protection support, exploring with crystals, colour and light, chakra systems, pendulum dowsing. It's just packed and packed and packed full of information. And one of the biggest reasons I enjoy this book is for the examples it gives you in using healing layouts, and it kind of looks like that. So you use this cute little dolls to do it, and then he shows you the pattern of what it would look like after you've laid it out, so you understand what it's trying to do, which is really nice. And actually, this book was the first one that made me want to design my own layouts for healing, and I did use this when I was doing my course as well, and I really enjoyed it. So again, all this kind of stuff. So ladies, if you're suffering on your menstrual cycle, that's a really good one. So there's all sorts of really fantastic information in this. And another thing I really like about this, again, isn't something you get too much in other books. It doesn't talk to you about the main chakras only, it talks about all the little side ones as well, and the crystals you can use for that, and the energies that those unlock if you choose to work with them. So again, fantastic information. He does talk to you a lot about self-healing, and if you're going to heal others as well, which is also really good. So thoroughly enjoyed this book. It's like a great basic that covers everything, and to be honest, if I went through my collection now of crystal books, I would probably choose to own this one, the Book of Crystal Spells, and the Cassandra Easton's Crystal Bible, and that's it. I probably wouldn't choose to own any of the others because I don't need them, because these 3 just cover everything I would ever need. So that one's brilliant if you really want to know as much information as possible and the many ways you can use your crystals. This covers a basic on everything, and if you like something you can then go off and buy books specifically in that topic and then study it further, and that's what I would do. So this one is a 10 out of 10, guys. It's a brilliant book. The last book I'm going to talk to you about is this one. It's quite heavy and it's actually a really big book. It's called The Healing with Crystals and Chakra Energies. So this one actually I had for a very long time, and again it's by Sue and Simon Lilly. So I have a lot of books by these guys, and this one actually focuses on colour just like the other one did. So in this one it breaks it down to the different kind of crystals that you would use under colour. So just to read you the content to give you an example of what I mean. So cleansing and grounding is white and black stones. Energizing and organising is red, orange and yellow. Balance and peace is green and blue. Healing and beyond is indigo and violet. That covers all of those straight away. And then it gives you a great section on colour and healing and chakra healing, and it gives you a big glossary, and it talks to you about ailments as well and some of the crystals you can use for that. So again, this is a really nice one, and the book is laid out really beautifully as well. It's got lots of full colour pictures in it and lots of ideas. It's just that, again, I had this, I read it, I loved it, but then I didn't really refer to it ever again. It's quite a bulky book, it's quite heavy, it's weighty, it just, I don't know, getting it out is just a bit of an effort, if I'm honest, and I can get all this information from a smaller book that I've already got, so this just kind of sits on my shelf. It's pretty to look at, but again, I don't use it. So for that reason, I think I would probably score this one in general about a 6 out of 10. It's informative, and if you can get your hands on it, it's a great one for your collection. And again, not really magical, but it does obviously contain some information about the chakras and about using your crystals for colour, which could be used in colour magic. So again, a subtle way to start incorporating them into other areas. But again, a lot of the other books I've just gone through have all that in, so there's nothing in this you don't already have in the others. So yeah, wouldn't score it very high, probably a 6 out of 10. And it would have been nice if with it being such a big book, it just needed a bit more to it, a bit more oomph, and it just didn't have that. It fell short in a few ways, even though it's pretty and everything. So yeah, 6 out of 10. So that's it, guys. That is all the books I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if any of these books you want to ask any more questions on them, please leave me a comment in the link below and I will try and answer it whenever I can. If you liked the video, give me that all important thumbs up, and if you enjoyed this enough that you want to subscribe, then brilliant. And if you didn't enjoy it at all, I'm really sorry you didn't enjoy it, but thank you for watching anyway. So that's me done for the day, guys, and I'll speak to you very soon. Be good to each other. Blessed be.